So the experience with Voc Rehab and our relationship with Green Mountain has been very successful. We have ended up hiring quite a few people who came on board with a work experience. It also has been really great for our current employees to engage with people coming from Voc Rehab. It gives them a sense of giving back to the community. It gives them a sense of pride and showing what Green Mountain has to offer.
My experience with Green Mountain Electric Supply and the progressive employment model has been fantastic. It's a best case scenario. We met with them about a year ago. Holly and I sat down and talked about what the employer needs were as they were a growing company, and talked about what our needs were as far as what we were looking for our candidates. As a result, we came up with some really great loose plans around how we could coordinate their needs with our needs, because it is a duo model. So we wanted to be able to support the company as well as them supporting us. We looked at several different departments within the organization and potential for work experiences and job carving and mock interviews, all of the different portions of progressive employment. Holly luckily was open to all of them in all of her departments as her needs arose. So we've been very fortunate to be able to use each setting as a progressive employment model and had some really great success moving into employed positions.
One of the unique things that we can offer to the table is we can look at a Voc Rehab client and kind of customize what they need and are looking for and what we need and are looking for, and we can kind of compromise and come up with a training plan. So that's something that is really unique with us. We can develop training plans for them. We also have the opportunity to dedicate a lot of time with them, so they have one-on-one support, or they work in a team environment, etc. So they're always with somebody getting the proper, I don't want to say grooming, but kind of grooming to get them comfortable where they need to be. So we have constant communication. Depending on the situation and the client, there might be a once-a-week meeting, once-a-week phone call, maybe it's just once a month. It really just depends on what the client's needs are. And we tend to all get together, either the case manager, the client, and supervisor, and myself, and we come up with a plan of action. What's working? What's not working? What training do they need? Are they feeling comfortable? Is there potential that they can be hired full-time? Just all these things that we are continuously talking about to make them feel comfortable and confident and hopefully get them into employment.
The recipe for progressive employment is that you have to always take the employer's needs as importantly as the client's needs. It is important to do, I joke that I'm a matchmaker, an employment matchmaker. It's very important to listen to the employer very closely as you're developing the relationship to find out what portions of progressive employment they're not only willing to do, but actually would work in their environment, as well as making sure that your candidates are very clear about what environment they're walking into. That's what's nice about doing job shadows and informational interviews and tours, and having an employer that's open to that so that it's a good fit, and we make sure that the employee also sees the fit.
My involvement over the past year with Voc Rehab has been pretty extensive, pretty involved in many different avenues. For instance, we have been doing internships, work experience. I've been doing mock interviews with people. I've been doing hiring of people as well.
When we initially engage with employers, we ask them what their needs are, where their pain is per se, what areas of their business they struggle to fill positions, what the gaps are in training in a lot of the positions that they're looking to fill. We ask them basically what they're open to. We find out kind of what their social background is really important as well. We've been very fortunate in this environment that our employer has a social background and understands the needs and has compassion for our clients as they walk through the door. So it's not simply about getting somebody into the positions that they want. It's also about taking care of the individual. A good employer knows that you need to really support your employees from the beginning to keep them. And so that's what's really nice when you find an employer that is willing to support a person even when they do move into competitive employment with them. The advice I would give is the advice I give whenever I'm training anybody. Everything's a conversation. Every time you sit down with an employer, it's a conversation. When you sit down with a candidate to discuss an employer, it's a conversation. It's not just about what you do 9 to 5. It's really about getting to know the employer's needs all the way around, as well as the candidate's needs all the way around, and making sure that everybody's needs are a good fit. Making sure you really understand the employer. I think a lot of folks automatically discount maybe retail settings or settings that don't necessarily look like a good fit for progressive employment. However, you get a candidate every now and then that wants to get into something that's crazy off the wall, something you've never heard of, and you'll be really grateful that you walk through the door of a very strange business. I often do mock interviews prior to bringing a candidate to an employer so I get a sense of the candidate, particularly when we get a candidate that maybe has gone to 15 interviews and nobody can seem to figure it out. They have a beautiful resume, they present nice, they're always on time, they're doing all the right things, but nobody can quite figure out why they're not getting the job after the interview. I often do mock interviews because oftentimes a personality really does need a good fit, and I ask a lot of questions of the candidate to make sure that when we place someone with an employer, they're not going to leave after 2 weeks because it wasn't a good fit. So getting to know a candidate and asking them as many questions as we ask the employer is really important to make sure that they're comfortable in their environment and that they have a really strong understanding of the environment they're walking into. The placement options are often defined by the voc rehab counselors, and when they bring their case to an employment consultant within our team, the employment consultant usually has a directive from the voc rehab counselors. And it could be a resume, it could be a work experience, it could be competitive employment, they're ready to go. So they generally have an idea as to what that candidate is ready for when they get to them. Sometimes they may not be ready for it and they figure that out. What we try to do is really assess what portions of a progressive employment are a good fit. We discuss it with the candidates. Some candidates are like, no, I want to make money, I refuse to do anything that's not going to make me money. And then other candidates maybe are, well, I'm a little bit nervous about jumping into a 40-hour work week. Can I just kind of look at the employer? And I call it getting their toe wet before they jump into the pond. So each person is individual. I talk about all of the different levels of progressive employment with each person, and where their comfort level is how we drive the case.
We do plan on continuing our relationship with voc rehab. It's been very successful with us. Again, I can't stress enough, some of our best employees that we have hired have actually come from the program. I feel like they've been really dedicated. They want it more than some other people that we get through resumes and whatnot, and they want to be here, and that's what we're looking for. We want people to be here. We want people to be enthusiastic. We want people to believe in what we have to offer. And the people that Nicole and voc rehab has sent to us have fit that description. So I just foresee us continuing building our relationship, and who knows what the future has.